What's up, Football Daily? With the new season just around the corner, let's take a look at 10 clubs across Europe you should be keeping your eye on in 2022-23. 10. Nottingham Forest. Perhaps the club to have been given the warmest welcome back to the Premier League by rival fans in recent years, Nottingham Forest have returned to the top flight after over 2 decades out of it, and having finished in the top half of the Championship just 4 times in the last 10 campaigns. And having gone from the relegation zone to promotion through the playoffs in 8 months under Steve Cooper, who has lost just 8 of his 45 games in charge of Forest, the club have made big moves to bolster their squad ahead of the new campaign, racking up the 3rd highest net spend in the Premier League behind Arsenal and Chelsea. Taiwo Awoniyi, Moussa Niakate and Omar Richards have all arrived from the Bundesliga, while they also beat Fulham to the signature of Nico Williams, significantly bolstering their defence and attack in the process. They also have a new number 1 in Dean Henderson, while Jesse Lingard's shock move will bring even more eyeballs to the City ground. But of course, as we saw with Norwich last year and Fulham in 2018-19, spending big does not guarantee staying up. However, the squad does look a lot stronger now than a year ago. Cooper's side should not be written off. 9. Juventus. The 2021-22 Serie A season was one of the most interesting in a generation, with rivals Milan and Inter going toe-to-toe for the title and Napoli staying for most of the course too. But despite their decline over the last 2 years and a nightmare first half of the previous campaign, Juventus cannot be written off and will enter the new season refreshed following a summer of changes within the squad. Captain Giorgio Chiellini has finally left, while centre-back partner Matthijs de Ligt's sale to Bayern Munich has left the back line woefully short of cover. However, the signing of Bremer from neighbours Torino ahead of rivals Inter is a coup, while Federico Gatti, who recently won his first Italy cap, will also get minutes in the back line. The acquisitions of Angel Di Maria and Paul Pogba, meanwhile, should compensate creatively for the loss of Paulo Dybala. As a result, the Bianconeri's midfield and forward line should look more balanced next term, despite the fact they are yet to sign a new left-back at the time of writing. But there's a lot of ground to make up. Despite comfortably finishing 4th, Juve had just the 11th best attacking record in the division last term, and just the 4th best defence. However, with Vlahovic now fully settled, Chiesa returning from injury and Pogba playing under the coach with whom he enjoyed the best form of his career, even if he may miss a sizable chunk of the campaign through injury, fans should expect a more exciting season than the last. 8. Man United. Hoping to bounce back from their worst season in over 30 years, Man United's business in the transfer market has been slightly underwhelming so far, with top target Frenkie de Jong keen to stay at Barcelona and 2 of their 3 permanent signings arriving from the Dutch Eredivisie, from where stars often need a period of adaptation to English football. But the arrival of Erik Ten Hag, the club's first big appointment since Jose Mourinho back in 2016, is exciting, and the early signs are good. United's pre-season tour has been a success despite Cristiano Ronaldo's refusal to travel, with the new coach using the time to instill more discipline in a squad that seriously lacked it last term. And while the lack of centre-forward options is a concern, it looks like Anthony Martial will be brought back into the mix by Ten Hag. But what will be most exciting is what the side looks like tactically. Ten Hag is the first United manager of the post-Ferguson era to have showcased a truly modern playing style in his previous job, and his track record of turning young players into superstars bodes well. He will no doubt face significant challenges, but United fans will welcome slow progress with open arms. 7. Ajax. But while Ten Hag's first season at United will be interesting to watch, how Ajax move on from him may be just as fascinating. Having reached the kind of heights not seen in Amsterdam since the 1990s during his tenure, Alfred Schreuder, who worked as Ten Hag's number 2 in the famous 2018-19 campaign, has big shoes to fill. And it's been a summer of change on the field too. Onana, Mazraoui and Tagliafico, players who were with Ten Hag for his entire stewardship, have left, while a sizable profit was also collected on the sale of Gravenberch, Haller and Lisandro Martinez. And whereas in the past they have been conservative with reinvesting such profits, they have already spent more than in any window in the club's history, picking up Steven Bergwijn, Calvin Bassey, Brian Brobby, Owen Wijndal and Francisco Conceição for a combined €85.6 million. With such a big rebuild taking place under a new coach, 22-23 will be a transitional year at the Johan Cruyff Arena. After 3 straight Eredivisie titles, Ajax's crown will be under serious threat. 6. AC Monza. Taken over by former Italian Prime Minister and Milan owner Silvio Berlusconi in 2018 with the aim of achieving promotion to Serie A for the first time in the club's history, AC Monza finally reached the promised land this summer after winning the Serie B playoffs, having only made it to the second tier after a 19-year absence in 2020. And like the aforementioned Nottingham Forest, the newly promoted outfit have been quick to invest, racking up over double the expenditure of both Roma and champions Milan at the time of writing. They've brought in Stefano Sensi and veteran defender Andrea Ranocchia from Inter, Alessio Cragno and Andrea Carboni from Cagliari, as well as Verona's Gianluca Caprari, who scored 12 Serie A goals last term. Meanwhile, local lad Matteo Pessina has returned to the club he left back in 2015 and carries a ton of experience, with him having starred for Gianpiero Gasparini's Atalanta in recent years and scored twice for Italy at Euro 2020. He has already been handed the captaincy. The bottom of Serie A tends to be pretty weak, and with Spezia, Cremonese and Lecce doing little in the market so far, Monza have a great shot at staying up on the first attempt. 5. Brentford. Having comfortably secured their Premier League status on the first attempt, finishing above more established powers like Aston Villa, Southampton and Everton in the process, Brentford proved last term that they are more than cut out for the top flight. And so far this summer their business has been typically smart, with former Lazio stalwarts Thomas Strakosha and Ben Mee, who's as experienced as they come for Premier League defenders, both arriving for free. These signings alone should see Thomas Frank's side concede a fair amount fewer than the 56 they let in last season, and they have also invested in exciting youth, with Scottish prodigy Aaron Hickey and Hull winger Keane Lewis Potter arriving for a combined £32 million. 20-year-old Hickey scored 5 Serie A goals from left wing-back for Bologna last term, while Lewis Potter registered 15 goal involvements in the championship. The departure of Christian Eriksen is a blow, but holding on to Ivan Toney is a big plus. We could see the Bees become even better in 22-23. 4. Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund's excellent summer of business has of course been marred by the sad news of Sebastian Haller's testicular tumour diagnosis, and all of us at FD wish the French striker a quick recovery. But while the club look for a replacement for their second most expensive signing in history, their other acquisitions will still make them an exciting watch next term. Young forward Karim Adeyemi has the ability to take the Bundesliga by storm, while Niklas Süle and Nico Schlotterbeck should make the Dortmund back line both more solid and more expansive. And a superb signing who has perhaps received the least attention is Saleh Özcan, arguably Köln's best player last season and signed for just €5 million. Named Germany's best under-19 player back in 2017, the now 24-year-old was training to be a wrestler as a child before focusing on football, and is a physically tough midfielder, ranking in the top 10% of players in his position for aerial duels won. Most importantly, his presence in front of the back line will give Jude Bellingham greater licence to roam. They may not have quite enough to catch Bayern Munich, but under Edin Terzic, who sustained a 62% win rate in his first spell with the club, they may well come close. 3. RB Leipzig. But the side with arguably the biggest shout of ending Bayern's Bundesliga supremacy is RB Leipzig. Unlike Dortmund, the Red Bull flagship haven't done extensive business so far this summer, with €12 million Javier Schlager their only significant signing, and with Tyler Adams, Brian Brobby and Nordi Mukiele all leaving. However, they've managed to hold on to Josko Gvardiol and Christopher Nkunku so far, two of their most important players last term, while head coach Domenico Tedesco has lost just 5 of his 30 games in charge. In fact, following his appointment last December, Leipzig accrued just 3 fewer points than champions Bayern, and also ranked far better defensively than the Bavarians, suggesting that an entire campaign under the former Spartak coach could see them go toe-to-toe with Nagelsmann's side. Mukiele will be missed, but Leipzig have a knack for quickly compensating for departing stars, and Benjamin Henrichs also impressed in limited minutes last term. Start the campaign strongly, and we could see Leipzig become even more unpopular with rival fans by the end of it. 2. Barcelona. Their continued big spending, aided by selling off large parts of their future commercial income, may have raised more than a few eyebrows and led to questions over the club's sustainability in the long term, but it's hard to argue that Barcelona won't be a good watch next season. Having seen rivals Real Madrid collect both La Liga and the Champions League in 21-22, Xavi will be determined to give Carlo Ancelotti a real battle in the new campaign, and while the excellent form of his first few months in charge fell off dramatically following Pedri's hamstring injury in April, a full summer with the squad and a number of new arrivals should see them become serious challengers. Whether Robert Lewandowski is needed, especially at €45 million, is up for debate, but there's no doubt he will score for fun in Spain, and while Rafinha's arrival is somewhat odd given he plays in the same position as Ousmane Dembele, the latter's contract renewal is probably their biggest achievement of the summer given his consistent world-class displays last season. Meanwhile, Andreas Christensen and the expected signing of Jules Koundé finally brings an end to years of neglect when it comes to investing in the defence. While some of their business has been baffling, there are still signs of a serious team taking shape at the Camp Nou. 1. Liverpool. Title rivals Man City may have experienced more turnover this summer, but in many ways it will be more interesting to see how Liverpool progress from their 21-22 campaign. Arguably the most impressive of Jürgen Klopp's 7-year tenure at Anfield, the Reds came within touching distance of a quadruple and dropped just 6 points from January onwards. But with Sadio Mane, the first true star of the Klopp era, having departed, and with the likes of Henderson, Thiago and Firmino all a year older, a new side is beginning to emerge. With Ibrahima Konate now fully integrated into the side and Joe Gomez penning a new deal, the Reds' defence is safeguarded for the future, while the instant success of January signing Luis Diaz and Mo Salah's contract renewal will soften the blow of Mane's departure. They have also invested in exciting teenagers Calvin Ramsey and Fabio Carvalho, while Darwin Nuñez's 4-goal display against Leipzig in pre-season suggests concern over his price tag could quickly be dismissed. With a new look-forward line to play with, this could be Klopp's most interesting season in years. So those were our 10 teams to watch in 2022-23, but which of these are you most excited to see in the new season? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like and subscribe to Football Daily if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.